A beloved family movie hides a gruesome secret right on screen. A father's warm embrace becomes a lethal weapon, and a quiet evening of relaxation turns into an inescapable oven. Welcome to Hidden Reality. Today we delve into three true, seemingly unconnected stories bound by one chilling theme. We often think of danger as something lurking in the shadows, something to be avoided at all costs. But what happens when danger doesn't look like danger at all? What happens when it is perfectly disguised as the very thing you have been desperately searching for? What happens when your greatest joy becomes your ultimate doom? We are going to explore this overarching mystery and look at how incredible happiness, profound love, and simple everyday fulfillment ironically became the exact mechanics of ruin for three very different people. These stories show us that sometimes the things that bring us the most comfort are silently harboring our destruction. Let's open our first case file. Part 1. The cinematic masterpiece and a director's perfect comeback. The year is 1993. A desperate film director named Shed Jin is trying to cast the perfect canine lead for an adaptation of a highly beloved novel called An Old Man and His Dog. Jin's entire legacy is on the line. He had been an incredibly prolific, award-winning visionary in the 1950s. But after being ostracized for his political views during the Cultural Revolution, this film was his ultimate critical comeback opportunity. He was under immense pressure to rebuild his shattered reputation. If this movie failed, he likely wouldn't get another chance. So when a young, friendly dog trainer named Chun walked in with his perfectly trained, shaggy yellow dog, the 101st audition of the day, it felt like an absolute miracle. The dog was eager to please, completely devoted to Chun, and was cast almost immediately. The production went flawlessly. On set, the dog obeyed Chun perfectly and had this incredibly sweet, tender quality on camera that just melted hearts. The film wrapped, released to rave reviews, and became an instant worldwide classic. It was recognized as one of China's top films of the year. Jin had accomplished his goal. By 1995, his career was completely revitalized, and he was once again in very high demand, getting his pick of new scripts. But then came a twist nobody could have seen coming. Just a year and a half after the release, Jin received a stunning phone call from a producer. The Chinese government was abruptly pulling the film. Jin was completely blindsided. This opened a bizarre mystery because it wasn't a political movie, and Jin, knowing his past, had kept his head down. He had absolutely zero new political scandals. So why ban a universally beloved family film? The tragic truth is horrifying. That friendly dog trainer, Chun, was actually a highly active serial killer. Over the previous 5 years, he had murdered at least 5 people. The government banned the movie, not just because of the murders, but because of how Chun disposed of the bodies. Audiences could no longer watch that sweet, wholesome dog on screen without the sickening realization that during the very production of that movie, the dog was actively being fed human remains by its owner. John's career stalled forever, permanently branded as the director who cast a flesh-eating dog. Part 2. A Father's Toxic Love. A Charmed Childhood in Norfolk. In 1960s England, 8-year-old Elaine Ellery adored her hard-working father. She had a truly charmed childhood, largely because her father went out of his way to make her feel incredibly special. He modeled his entire life around prioritizing his family above all else. Even though he worked grueling, back-breaking shifts in a large factory, he ensured he came home every single day on his lunch break, still in his work clothes, just to give Elaine a massive hug and eat with her. The highlight of her childhood, though, was in December 1966 when he finally brought her to the spectacular factory Christmas party. The factory was beautifully decorated, complete with what looked like magical fake indoor snow covering everything. Elaine spent the whole night holding her dad's hand, playing in the snow, having the absolute time of her life. But her father's factory didn't just make ordinary products. They manufactured asbestos. This was a toxic reality entirely unknown to them and the general public at the time. Asbestos was everywhere in UK construction, but as we now know, it is a highly toxic substance that causes aggressive, lethal cancer, often with a massive latency period of several decades. This tragic exposure ultimately killed Elaine's beloved father in 1983, when Elaine was just 25 years old. 41. That is the number of years that passed after her father's death. In the late summer of 2024, a now retired Elaine began experiencing extreme, unexplainable fatigue. One afternoon, simply sitting in her kitchen, she began struggling to breathe. It felt like she had just run a marathon. She hobbled to the phone, called her doctor, and underwent a series of tests.
The results brought her face to face with the exact same aggressive cancer diagnosis that had taken her father 4 decades earlier.
The darkest irony of this story is that by coming home to hug her daily in his dusty work clothes, and by letting her joyfully play in the factory's fake snow, her father's deep, devoted love was unknowingly the weapon of her destruction. The magical snow wasn't snow at all. It was raw asbestos. Her father was unknowingly coating his daughter in the deadly dust that would eventually claim her life in 2025. The very closeness and love she cherished most was the direct vector for her tragic fate.
Part 3. The Final Relaxation. A routine evening in Florida.
In January of 2015, 68-year-old Dennis Antiporak was standing at his kitchen counter preparing for a very routine night of relaxation in North Miami Beach. Dennis was a creature of habit. He left a highly detailed note for his adult daughter, Laura, and his wife outlining his exact itinerary. Step 1, leave the note so they wouldn't worry. Step 2, visit the condo complex's amenity level to enjoy the relaxation rooms. Step 3, walk down the street to his favorite local diner, Denny's, to hang out with friends for a late-night meal. He wanted to ensure his family knew exactly where he would be.
But when Laura woke up at 2 a.m. and realized her father still hadn't returned home, panic began to set in. His phone went straight to voicemail. She called Denny's. The staff knew him well, but they told her he hadn't been in all night. Frantic, Laura remembered the note and hurried up to the condo's amenity level. She scoured the gym. It was completely empty. She checked the pool area. Vacant. If he wasn't at the diner and he wasn't in the main amenity spaces, where could he possibly be? Remembering the specific details of his note, she checked his favorite relaxation room, the wooden sauna. Earlier that evening, Dennis had gone in expecting a short, refreshing sweat. He set the timer, relaxed, and actually fell asleep. But the mechanical shut-off timer broke. It malfunctioned. The sauna never turned off. In a devastating and gruesome conclusion to his night of rest, the sauna became a literal oven. Dennis was trapped in a continuous, fatal heat while he slept. The intense temperature induced a fatal heart attack, and because the machine never powered down, it continued to heat the small wooden room for hours upon hours. When Laura finally opened the door at 2 a.m., she was hit with an overwhelming smell. Her father had been trapped inside the malfunctioning machine, tragically cooked by the very amenity he had sought out for peace and comfort. Tragic destinies, the cost of comfort.
Across 3 different decades and 3 vastly different continents, we've seen this theme play out. The very sources of a director's perfect movie cast, a loving father's warm embrace, and an older man's calming evening sweat became inescapable engines of destruction. The danger wasn't lurking in a dark alley, it was sitting right there in their moments of greatest joy and peace. If the things that bring us the most peace, love, and success can silently harbor our destruction, how can we ever truly separate our greatest comforts from our ultimate ruin? I will leave you to think on that provocative reality. Subscribe to Hidden Reality for more incredible true stories and hidden realities from around the world.